It seems like it's been 40 weeks since you got 40 winks. Your back pain? Unbearable. Tossing, turning, trying to find that pain-free position. And that's the moment you realize you can't spend another waking moment putting off treatment.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for spine care, with a ton of surgical and non-surgical treatments for back pain. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better, the Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 783, Walking Meditation, Unshakeable Trust, with Lindsey Bonadonna.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
What up, friends? Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. And before I go into this episode, which is actually done by Lindsey Bonadonna, and I want to give some backstory on this episode here in a minute. But first, I want to tell you about my friends Sarah and Team Fit With Me. And actually, Lindsey and Sarah were both speakers at my Pound This party for my 40th birthday. And both of those live podcasts will be coming soon. And Sarah talked all about macros and nutrition, and she is just a wizard with helping everyone with nutrition. So if you're looking for a great health coach, whether you want to understand macros, you want to get help with meal plans, you want lots of recipes, you want somebody that will hold you accountable. If you have some gut health issues or you're dealing with hormonal issues, Sarah can do labs and do all of that stuff. She is absolutely amazing. And she has an entire team too. So, I mean, you're going to get physical fitness and exercise. Jeanette, her mindset coach, is absolutely amazing. So there's lots of options. So no matter where you are, if you're looking for a great health coach, Sarah works with you virtually. And right now you can get 10% off month one of all packages and plans when you go to teamfitwithme.com/poundthis, and you're going to find that link in the show notes. So that's what me and Sarah talked about at the Pound This party. What me and Lindsey talked about was mental health. Now, Lindsey is an amazing mindset coach, and I will say I'm very, very incredibly grateful to have a friend who is so amazing at what she does and helping with mindset and kind of talking you through things. And so I brought up to Lindsey a month or so ago, I heard about this concept of walking meditations. So I've been trying to make it a daily practice in my life to help me get through a lot of things, is to just try to meditate every day. I personally only like using guided meditations. I just go to YouTube and find random ones that are kind of fitting the vibe. But I heard, I don't know if it was a TikTok or something, where they mentioned where it was a meditation while you're walking. So I looked this up and I could really only find one that didn't completely suck. And I was like, well, I really love this concept. And I'm like, man, Lindsey would be so great at this, where I'm like, I love listening to this. I'm not sure if I would be the best at giving like a walking meditation. So I asked Lindsey, I'm like, would you be interested in doing this? Does this interest you at all? I would love to do an episode of this on the podcast and kind of see how it goes. And she's like, yeah, I started asking a bunch of questions and going into it. And she kind of did like a trial run of it. And then I'm like, yeah, let's totally do this. And I will say, with the intention originally, I would say for both of us to kind of record this with a professional microphone and have it like, you know, be kind of like thought out and planned. And so, but that's not what this episode is because Lindsey just happened to send me this. She's like, hey, this was on my mind. And I went for a walk and I recorded this. And this is so helpful to me, everything that she says in this walking meditation for things that I'm going through in my personal life right now. It just really struck a chord, and I cried multiple times listening to this. And I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. This is perfect. And I asked Lindsey, I'm like, do you mind if I put this up as the podcast? So it's like, I know we're not sitting down in a studio and using mics and all that other stuff, but it's like, I just think that this is amazing and it's raw, and you hear Lindsey's feet hitting the ground, and you hear her walking, and you're hearing the birds, and you're hearing her thoughts and walking you through this. And I just think it's awesome. So I really wanted to share this, especially because this so deeply impacts me where I'm at in my life right now, that maybe this might help you. You know, we're all going through different things and we're in different stages of our life. But I know for me, the meditation and thinking through these things helps in all aspects, because when my mind's off, my eating's off, my movement's off, my sleep is off, stress is off the charts. So it's like, how do we kind of bring it back and be more centered? And so the basis of this meditation that Lindsey did is unshakable trust in yourself, which I have issues with, and I think a lot of us do. So I really hope that you listen to this. You can be out for a walk, so you are getting some movement in while listening to this, or sit quietly, however you feel the best to listen to this. I hope that it helps you in some way. And I really would honestly love your feedback on this. If you like this concept, if you find this helpful of like a walking meditation, definitely let me know if you want to hear more of these, because I would really like to do this more with Lindsey. I think she's fantastic and just absolutely amazing. So you can email me, Amanda@AmandaValentineBites.com. You can always shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm at You Can Pound This. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me. But I hope that you enjoy this. I hope that it helps you. And I am going to be quiet now and let Lindsey take over.
Hey friends, I'm so glad that you're joining me today on this beautiful walk. No matter how the weather is, no matter where you're at, if you're listening to this, you chose to move your body even just a little bit, thank you. This last week, I was reminded about this phrase, unshakable trust. And as I thought about what that really means and thought about the power behind it, I immediately got goosebumps. What does it mean to have unshakable trust in yourself? To be able to step forward into a decision, deeply knowing that it's right for you. Deeply trusting that if things don't work out the way that you think that they will or hope that they will, that you'll still absolutely be okay. So that's what I'd like to bring into our walk today. An exploration of what unshakable trust looks like for you. Let's begin by just establishing our breath here at the beginning, getting in touch with our bodies, seeing how we're feeling. So as you begin to draw in an inhale, just really let that inhale be nice and full. Let your exhale be complete. Once again, drawing in another inhale, releasing another exhale, beginning to feel yourself come deeply into your body. And just check in. Notice what you notice. Feel what you feel. And I want to encourage you to explore not only the physical sensations you're feeling in your body, but also any energetic sensations, emotional sensations, mental sensations, spiritual sensations, everything. Continuing to breathe. If you find your mind struggling to focus, I want to let you know that that's okay. We all have a lot going on, and sometimes even though we have an intention to relax, to be more mindful, to come into our bodies, to notice what we notice, sometimes it's just really hard to do. And that's okay. Not every time we walk or meditate has to be a quote unquote perfect practice. The fact that we're trying is really important. So just do the best that you can. as we continue to breathe and come into our bodies, our thoughts today, noticing how your feet feel in your shoes as they strike the ground. Noticing how your arms are moving. Maybe relax your shoulders down a little bit if they're creeping up towards your ears. Let your jaw relax and your tongue and your forehead. Feel into your environment a little bit. No matter where you're walking in harmony with your environment, whether it's inside or outside. So just kind of take notice where and what is going on around you. The present moment. What is true right now. And see if we can use this walk to stay in this moment together. Taking a few rounds of breath, just in quiet here. Gather yourself together. Beautiful work, friend. I know that we may or may not have met before, but I want to tell you regardless, it is feeling very strongly on my heart. I just want to tell you that you're beautiful, and I appreciate you taking time to take care of yourself. We are the only person we spend our entire lives with, and yet often we're the ones that are put very last. So thank you for putting yourself just a little bit higher on your list. So let's come into this idea of exploring what unshakable trust means to you today. And if this topic doesn't feel relevant or not something that you want to explore, totally cool. When I'm listening to something and it's speaking to me a little bit, so I don't want to change it, but I'm not necessarily in a place where I want to contemplate it, I just think about it as a little seed that's being planted for future. Maybe something I'll revisit later in the day or weeks later, years later. So let this message be whatever it needs to be for you today. Without any pressure, without anything more to do, just letting it be. Let's be present with this idea of unshakable trust. So what does that mean? It can mean different things for different people. And what's beautiful about that is whatever we think is right? It's right for us. We're the only ones with all of the information, all of the context, all of the facts. So we get to define what unshakable trust looks like in our lives. I want to bring that into the context specifically of what unshakable trust looks like in relationship to ourselves. If you feel your breath speeding up, just continue to breathe nice and evenly. It's also really awesome that your heart is responding, maybe beginning to pump a little bit faster just to meet you where you're at. I believe unshakable trust in relationship with ourselves is what I was saying earlier, that feeling, that deep knowing, that leaning forward, that whole body yes, that we may not be able to exactly describe why we need to do something or why we believe something is right. We just know it deeply within our most inner selves. And when that trust with ourselves is unshakable, we're able to act on this feeling and just trust and know that no matter the outcome, that outcome is exactly what it is supposed to be. And I think what's important here too is to acknowledge how this unshakable trust is built within ourselves. It's built exactly by what you're doing right now. Walking, being with yourself, being present, being in the moment, and learning. And learning about what feels right and true to you. So you're already doing it. You're already doing the work. And that's so awesome. Because you deserve, and it's important, to have a relationship that is unshakable with yourself. The ability to trust and discern. And also not feel like we have to explain ourselves or deeply understand or have a reason why. I can just imagine what that could feel like consistently in your day-to-day, where we shed the overthinking, we shed the worry, and we just trust in our deepest inner knowing. Let's take a few rounds of breath just in silence, getting into your body, letting this concept sink in a little bit. So now better understanding and beginning to explore what unshakable trust looks like for you, I'd like you to think more deeply about how it would feel. So perhaps bring to mind a situation that you're experiencing in your life right now that you really feel conflicted about. Or maybe you know what you want to do in this situation, but you're feeling very concerned about the consequences, the what ifs, the what if I'm wrong, the what if I hurt someone, what if this doesn't work out, what if I fail. I mean, we can come up with a million what ifs, especially if we were all in the same room together, right? There's always going to be a million and one reasons why not to do something. That's easy. But I want you to come in to that questioning, that space where you know what you want to do, but you're coming into that place of what if a lot. And that's what's causing the conflict. It's not so much that you don't know what to do. It's the concern about what's going to happen if you do this thing that feels right to you that we're taking a look at. So perhaps take a moment here to let yourself fall into these what ifs, to really feel them, to really let yourself go deeper with them. And I want you to notice too, as you're thinking about these what ifs, where are you feeling them in your body? And what do they feel like? Does it feel like a tightness somewhere in your body? Perhaps your throat starts to feel restricted. Does it feel like your heart rate's speeding up even though you're not changing the speed of your pace? Just take a minute to breathe in and notice. Notice where these what ifs are showing up. Are they making your brain swirl? I know they tend to make mine swirl quite a bit. So I'd like you to grab one of these what ifs that are holding you back from making this decision that feels pertinent and important in your life. This decision that you know for some reason feels in alignment. So take this what if and let's start to go a little bit deeper with it. Bring it front and center of your mind. And take that what if and ask what if again. So let's say your what if is, what if this doesn't work out the way that I think it's going to work out? All right, well, what if it doesn't? What then? And then with that next what if, ask what if again. So let's say if the answer to what if this doesn't all work out the way I think it's going to is, well, what if it doesn't? Well, then I'm a failure. Okay. Well, what if you are a failure? What does that mean? As you think about this, and every answer is going to be different, right? Because we're all individuals. What our fears are that we're trying to uncover are all going to be different. I'm just simply giving a guide, an example, a way to approach things that may or may not work for you individually. And that's okay. Part of this life experience is trying out different things to see and discover what does and does not work for us. And what works for one person more than likely isn't going to work for another. So just know it's all okay. Don't use this experiment and experience as a way to reinforce an untrue thought you have about yourself. Come back to that unshakable trust that you, just as you are, is exactly what you need to be. So continue to dig deeper into those what ifs. And maybe there's some emotion that's starting to come up as you go deeper. Maybe there's some really hard stuff that you're starting to feel. There are definitely times where I've been walking around, contemplating, thinking, working through some things, and I'm just walking around ugly crying. But let those feelings move through you. Really feel them. That's part of the work here. And know that when we allow ourselves to deeply feel our emotions, they will move through us in just a couple minutes. I know that may sound unbelievable, but it is true. It's just really uncomfortable to do. And that's why we're adverse to do them, but that's also why we hold on to these feelings that stand in the way and shake up our unshakable trust with ourselves. So just let yourself breathe into whatever's coming up. You are not walking alone. So as you continue to work through this, at some point, you'll uncover that core fear. You know, for some of us, it may be fear of disconnection from somebody that we love, fear of judgment, fear of not being loved anymore, fear of not being understood. All right, let's just sit with that. Perhaps we even place our left hand over our heart and our right hand over our left hand and just hold ourselves for a moment. Maybe even we even stop moving for a moment and just be with ourselves. Acknowledging this fear, acknowledging this worry. In fact, if it feels relevant, let's take a moment to just pause and stand there holding yourself, hand to heart. If you're in a safe place, maybe even eyes to close. And I want you to imagine, I want you to start to feel into this idea of unshakable trust that's in your heart, that's in your gut, that's in your head. This deeper inner knowing that's trying to tell you it will be okay. And now let's begin to explore what the truth is, what your deeper innermost knowing is telling you to move forward with. We've worked through some of the reasons why not to do it. And again, that's the easy part. But now, I want you to explore why you should do it. Begin to bring into focus how it would feel to make this decision that you believe is really in alignment with what is best for you. And if those what ifs start to pop up, just say, thank you, what ifs. I know you're here. I know you're trying to get me to look at the whole picture. I know that you can be very useful. But right now, I just need to focus on this. I will be back for you at some point. But let me just focus on what it would feel like making this decision. To really trust in to this deeper innermost knowing that we all have inside of us. To get out of our own way. And I want you to notice, really think through and feel into your body what it would feel like to make this decision. Perhaps you start to feel a little lift in your energy, a little lift in your physical body. Maybe even a little tiny spark of excitement or hope, like, oh man. Maybe even you notice your body leaning forward, even just the tiniest bit, interested in what you're thinking, interested in what could unfold for you. I'm going to give you a little bit of silence to just explore this possibility. How's it feeling to you? Now, sometimes it feels like a massive weight has been lifted off and we are just, yep, this is what I'm doing. I get it. Here we go. And other times it's a little bit more subtle. And the whole range is totally cool. what's important here is that you're acknowledging a difference between what alignment feels like in your body and acting in alignment versus what ifing yourself to death and holding yourself back. So we're just experimenting with and better understanding how these two things feel in our body. So now coming back into this idea of unshakable trust. Friend, what if it looked like if you took that step towards what feels in alignment for you? Because you're already taking many steps already just by walking, thinking about what it could feel like, noticing how it feels in your body, challenging yourself, questioning yourself, going deeper. Like, you've just done so much. You're amazing for doing this. This is not easy work. This is brave work. And frankly, it's ridiculous how hard it is to come into a place of deeply trusting ourselves, right? I mean, we're the only ones we're with our entire lives, and we don't trust ourselves 150% of the time? What? That does not make sense. Alas, that's how our beautiful, brilliant human brain works. So we just got to work with that biology a little bit. Unshakable trust with yourself. My friend, here's what I know. I believe the quote goes something like, we will not make 100% of the shots we never take. I'm pretty sure it's a Wayne Gretzky quote, but I always think of Michael Scott from The Office quoting Wayne Gretzky and taking credit for it. But there's some significant truth there. You've uncovered what's kind of holding you back, right? So you understand that. And that's not to say that that feeling will ever go away, but you just breathe some understanding into it. You expanded it a bit to understand, well, yeah, this feels scary because I want to make sure that I'm still loved, that I'm still cared for, that I'm still protected, and I'm doing something that's really different than I've ever done before. So heck yeah, it feels scary. But what if you do this thing that you're feeling inclined to do? What if you do this thing that your body is leaning in towards, that your deeper innermost knowing won't let you stop thinking about? What does that look like? Let yourself kind of think wildly here. Dream wildly. Would you feel less stressed? Would you maybe wake up a little bit more excited in the morning? Would you care more about how you're sleeping at night because you want to make sure that you're renewed for the next day? Would you be able to show up more present, less burdened? Would you be able to be more resilient in your stress management because you wouldn't be stressed all the time? You would begin to understand the difference between what that feels like. Let yourself be in this place of wonder for a few breaths. Let yourself be curious here. And again, invite any thoughts that are coming up that are trying to work against this euphoria, this possibility. Just acknowledge them and let them know that you'll be back for them. You're not trying to dismiss them. You're just trying to explore another aspect. Notice how this feels in your body. If you're feeling a little bit lighter, even the tiniest bit unburdened or excited, My friend, that's what unshakable trust begins to feel like in our body. It's just this feeling of, all right, yeah, I don't know why I need to do this. Maybe sometimes we have a why or a reason, but we know that just us feeling like we need to do this is reason enough. That itself, my friend, is reason enough to explore what is possible. It is okay to trust ourselves. It is okay to not have a reason to do something. I want you to hear this again. We are reason enough. You are reason enough. The quality of your life, your health, your wellness, your time on this earth is reason enough. You do not need any more than that. It's important to acknowledge that we're not really taught to trust ourselves. Again, just like we can give ourselves 1,000,001 reasons why to not do something, as we grow up in our world, we're also given 1,000,001 reasons why not to trust ourselves. And a lot of that comes from this fear of disconnection, of being judged, of not being loved the way that we were loved before we made this bold decision. So it's important to acknowledge that that is a real thing that happens. That is a real conditioning that we have, and we just need to acknowledge that this is not just something that we're making up, but that we're actually conditioned to believe that it's not okay to trust ourselves. Let's challenge that by trusting ourselves even more. This is a bold act of defiance, my friends. It really is. And that's part of the reason why it's not easy. It's scary. But I can assure you, every time you step into yourself a little bit deeper, every time you do something to continue to develop that unshakable trust in yourself, every time you take a few minutes to reflect on times you've felt scared to make a choice, but you made it anyways, and see that you are still here, you're still listening, you're still learning. Use that as affirmation that everything will be okay. Life doesn't always work out the way that we want it to, but we have a choice in how we want to look at that. We can learn and be like, whew, alrighty, well, I'm not going to make that decision again. And then we know better, right? We kind of check it off the list that that's not something that works for us. But if we never try, how will we ever know? You are worth trusting. And I understand the work that's involved in learning to develop that level of unshakable trust where we just know and we do. We question a little bit less. And I think that's the overall aspiration, right? Is that each day that goes by, each day as we grow, as we evolve, that we trust ourselves more and we question ourselves less. Let that be the goal. My friend, thank you so much for joining me on this walk today. Take some time now to just be with yourself, to breathe, to be present, to look around, to feel into your body, and know so deeply that you are enough and you are worthy just as you are. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself today. And I can't wait to see how you shine.
AmandaValentineBites.com